Hey everybody, Stinger here with a special message, a special thank you to the best Italian wrestling podcast. That's right, the best Italian wrestling podcast called Pro Wrestling Culture. Specifically, thank you to Aldo Fiadoni, all right? Aldo, awesome job, man. I guess you and I met in New York in 2019. And there were some tears shed there. Man, I love that. You know what? Real men can cry, bro. Let me tell you something. Man, means a lot that you watch. Means a lot that this podcast is happening. And the pro wrestling culture appreciates Aldo Fiadoni. And I appreciate you as well. And I guess you liked also my TNA run. Man, if you liked the TNA run, I always ask people, I'm always curious, what about the Joker? That Joker character for me was one of the funnest times I had in my whole career, believe it or not. One of. So it's really high up there on my list. It means a lot that you appreciated that. Hope you're appreciating all that's going on with AEW right now. I'm in Boston. Right now we're going to do Dynamite tomorrow night live. So be watching there. It's going to be showtime, and tune in to the podcast Pro Wrestling Culture because it's always showtime there from the Stinger.
Questo programma non è soggetto a infezioni.
Okay, listen. Hey, you hear my phone ringing? That's
Yes.
Yeah, I got to tell Vince McMahon I can't make Monday night. Hey, look here, Vince. I'm sorry. I'm on a podcast. Call back later. Okay. Nice.
Fantastic.
All right.
It's showtime. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new brand episode of Pro Wrestling Culture, a podcast available everywhere, worldwrestling.it, Spreaker, Spotify, Twitch like Open Wrestling TV, YouTube with Eagle and Dono, and obviously Radio Libera Tutti. So, here with me, the professor, Matteo Pagliarella. Hi, prof.
Hi, amabile Messiah. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much.
And welcome to our guest.
Our special guest, an Irish icon for the Irish wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, the fresh Fabio.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. How are you doing, man?
All good, yeah. We're all good. Not too bad.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, my first question is, when you decided to be a pro wrestler, and who is your first inspiration?
So for me, wrestling was one of those things that, I don't remember a time where I didn't want to be a wrestler. It's just something I always wanted to do when I was even when I was such a young kid. I remember seeing it on TV, and I just from that instant, straight away, I knew I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and it hasn't changed throughout the years. For my first influence, growing up, my favorite wrestlers were Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy. They were my three guys over anybody else, and it's probably still the same today. They'd be my favorite wrestlers. So yeah, that just being a wrestler, it's just something I've always wanted to do.
I like your style because I watched your match in Rising Sun wrestling promotion here in Italy. What do you think about that promotion and most importantly, the Italian people, the Italian fans?
For Rising Sun, it's one of the best places I've worked for. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. The promoter, whose name is also Fabio,
Yes.
he treats the talent really, really well. That was the time just gone. That was my second time wrestling for Rising Sun. And both times he couldn't have been more accommodating. So Rising Sun as a promotion is brilliant. Like, I want to be over there all the time if I can. And the Italian fans are great. I've kind of started connecting with them a little bit. On the last show, I seen some people had Fabio signs, and I was like,
yes,
oh, that's great. Like, I didn't think that the Italian fans would remember me, like, because I've only been over there once. So I love the Italian fans. And I love Italian wrestling. I want to be over there as much as I can.
I'm a very huge fan of the over-the-top wrestling promotion, the OTT. And I watched you there in OTT. I think one of your last match was against the Kings of the North, right?
Yeah,
okay.
It was, yeah.
Okay. And do you have one of the biggest memory about your career there?
Well, at the minute, over the top wrestling, I do like mostly comedy matches. Like, I do I'm kind of like a cowardly heel. So for me, like, when it comes to wrestling promotions, I have like core memories about different ones for different reasons, if that makes sense. So in OTT, like, I have a lot of fun because I'm doing comedy matches and I get to talk a lot, like, and it's one of the only places that has given me a microphone to let me do promos. So that's like, I love that. But I got to wrestle Joe Hendry in Over the Top Wrestling before, and that would probably be my favorite match in OTT. And my debut for OTT was against like one of my closest friends, Justin Daniels. He's been in Rising Sun before as well. And, that meant a lot to me as well, because me and him, we both had our first match ever against each other. It was both of the time in front of a crowd. I was 15, he was 14 years of age. So then to do that in one of Europe's biggest promotions again, like, that was really something special.
But I think you are one of the icons of the Fight Factory Pro Wrestling. How do you feel about that? Because you are the longest reigning Irish junior heavyweight champion.
Fight Factory, I owe so much to Fight Factory. I started training there. They were my first couple of shows. Like, my trainers, Phil Boyd and LJ Cleary, someone also who has been in Rising Sun a good bit.
Yes.
I owe so much to them and to everyone in Fight Factory. And I'm so glad that I've managed to kind of become like a mainstay and one of Fight Factory's top guys, because I remember like not being on Fight Factory shows. I remember like being a trainee there and seeing like my coaches and people who I train with on these shows, and I wanted to be like them at the very start. And now it's really cool to main event matches and hold the title that is FFPW's title. And from that I've gotten to wrestle like some of my best matches against some good friends, and I got to wrestle the Ring of Honor world champion Jonathan Gresham through Fight Factory Pro Wrestling. So I do owe a lot to that place. Fight Factory has a very special place in my heart.
In fact, I want to ask you if you remember the 28th February 2022, because you had a match against Jonathan Gresham with the pure rules and for the ROH World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, that's by far my biggest match ever, my most important match. I could talk about that match for ages. I loved it. I remember when I found out, like, I got so excited. And then just because it was Jonathan Gresham, like, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I was so happy to just wrestle someone like him. And then because it was for the Ring of Honor world champion as well, like, that was like the cherry on top. I was like, this is so cool. Like, because I remember when I started becoming a teenager, like, I started to get into independent wrestling. So like I'd watch Ring of Honor and PWG. Like they'd be like kind of my first taste of independent wrestling. And I'd watch like some old matches from Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, and they were the people that held the Ring of Honor champion. And now like I got to wrestle for that belt too. So that was pretty cool. And in my home promotion as well, in the very ring that I trained in to be a pro wrestler. So it was all just, it was great. Like I couldn't say enough good things about it. I loved it.
Can you tell us more about the situation, about Irish wrestling right now after the pandemic era?
At the moment, I think we're like
Yes.
Irish wrestling is really, it's really gonna kind of like on a hotspot. You know, people weren't sure how it was gonna be with everything that happened throughout the pandemic. We didn't know if things with venues, like if we could have as big a shows as we used to, because of like crowd numbers and social distancing and stuff. Like we weren't sure, but everything has kind of come back full circle. There's shows like almost every weekend now here in Ireland, which is great for not just me, but people who are kind of like starting out now as well. Because I remember LJ Cleary, he told me before that like there was very rarely ever shows in Ireland. There would be like maybe 4 shows a year that he would be on. And that's like maximum. And even then when I started, I would be getting a show maybe like once every 3 months maybe. And now there's like nearly a show every week after the pandemic. I think everybody, because Irish wrestling is such a small community, we all just want to like just be at shows and, you know, get to wrestle and be around our friends again and things like that, because we weren't able to do that for so long. So the state of Irish wrestling, I think anyway, is in really good hands, and I think we're only going to go up from here.
I think the most amazing fans in Europe is there in Ireland, because I was there during the 5th anniversary of OTT, and that was an epic show, an epic moment. Probably because it was the day before my birthday, but yes, that was awesome, literally. And my last question before the passing of the torch to Matteo is: have you ever do you have a dream match with a dream opponent here in Europe or outside Europe?
So there's so many dream matches. Like there's so many people I'd like to wrestle. I think like maybe like here in Europe, I'd love to wrestle Will Ospreay.
Yes.
You know, he's one of the biggest names to come out of Europe. Akira from Italy, like that would be great as well. There's so many. Like I'd love to wrestle Shane Strickland from AEW. Okay. That's a big one. But then like, you know, later on in my career, I'd love to wrestle Rey Mysterio, AJ Styles, Randy Orton. Like they're the 3 that like I would love. There's so many names I could keep naming on and on and on, but they're like the first ones that will come to my head.
Okay, Matteo, your turn.
Okay, so you have an Italian name. So what's the meaning? Why you choose that name? So Fabio, why you choose name Fabio?
You know, I get asked this all the time, and I don't really know the answer. I kind of I remember when I started training, one of the coaches said to me, "Oh, like hello, what's your name?" And I was like, "Oh, my name is Brad. That's my real name." And he was like, "No, you look like a Fabio," and that was it. That's
Why?
it. Like, I don't know. He just said, "No, you look like your name is Fabio," and he called me Fabio every single week. Every week he called me Fabio, and here I am.
Well, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, you know, like I think sometimes people expect me to say like, "Oh, you know, like I have Italian origin," or like, you know, "Oh, I don't know." You know, I think people think I'm gonna say that, but then it's nowhere close to that. It's nothing like that at all.
Probably your coach is a friend of Fabio Tornaghi of Rising Sun.
Oh, maybe that's how I got booked.
Could you tell us something about your moment during the pandemic era, because we know that some wrestlers couldn't wrestle